Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video what we're going to do is learn how to Dockerize an application and deploy it to AWS Elastic Container Service. Now for this crash course I do expect you to know the basics of Docker. You don't have to be a professional by any means, but for example I do expect you to know how to download Docker onto your local machine because that's not something that I am going to cover. If you are new to Docker and you want to learn more, I do have a Docker crash course as well as a Kubernetes crash course on my channel. All right, let's get into it. So what are we, Dockerizing? We're going to be Dockerizing an Express API. And so an API is something where we hit and it gives us back data. So we're going to be Dockerizing that and then deploying it to our machine. Now Express is built on top of Node. However, you do not need to have Node or anything installed on your local machine because of course we're working with Docker and the containers are going to be isolated from our local machine. So in order to get started, let's not build the Express application ourselves. Let's go to my GitHub page. Let's go to my index.js and let's just get this very simple Express app. Really simple. Nothing insanely difficult about it. So let's create an index.js file. And then in here, we're just going to paste this. So you can see here, I have an Express app. And then we have this endpoint, which is the slash endpoint that says this is my Express app. And then we have the me endpoint that says, hey, I am late. Of course, you can change this to whatever it is that you want. All right, and then the next thing that we need to copy and paste is the package.json. And this just shows you all of the different dependencies that this application needs. So let's go back over here and let's go to the package.json and let's copy this. And that's all we need. That's all we need. Anything else over here, so for example, I guess I ignored the known modules, but anything else we do not need at the moment. All right, so let's go ahead and Dockerize this application. So of course, to create a Dockerfile, what we need to do is, to create a Dockerfile. So let's go here, and what we're going to do is, create a Docker file. And in here, we're going to highlight the series of steps that we need to do to create our Docker image for our Express application. So what's the first thing that we need to do? So let me just go here. Let me see if I can zoom in once more. No, I can't. So what's the first thing that I need to do? Well, I need to specify a base image. We don't want to be working with a completely empty image. We want to be working with an image that has some of the things that we need to work with a Node application. So what we're going to do is we're going to say from Node Alpine. So from Node Alpine right over here, Alpine. So that's going to be our base image. The next thing is specifying the working directory. The working directory is going to be the directory where all of our files are going to be and run inside of our container. Typically, what I like is workdir, and then our working directory is just going to be inside of an app directory. And what's going to happen now is everything is going to be put inside of this app directory, and everything is going to run inside of this app directory. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is, we want to start copying some of this code inside of the working directory. So the first thing that we actually want to copy is the package.json. So in order to do this, we're going to do copy, and we're going to do package.json, and then we're going to do dot. So what this means is it's going to copy the package.json. Notice that the Dockerfile is in the same directory as the package.json. So I'm going to copy the package.json and move it to the working directory, which is going to be inside of the app directory. All right, so that's the first thing that we're going to do. And then what we want to do is install all of the dependencies. So now that we have the package.json, what we can do is an npm install to install all of the dependencies that we need. For example, right here, we have Express, and we need to install Express to run our application. So let's go over here, and we're going to run npm install. All right, so that's good. That gets us our node modules, our package.json. However, now there might be some other files and folders inside of our application that is not inside of our image, such as the index.js. So at this point, what we want to do is we want to just copy everything in. So copy everything inside of this directory to the app directory. Now you might be wondering why we didn't do something like this. Just copy everything in right away, and we omitted this step. This would work perfectly fine, but Docker works on layers. And what happens is if it runs this command once and you try to run it again, this is going to be cached, this is going to be cached, this is going to be cached. So the reason why we want to do this is anytime we make a change inside of our file directory and not our package.json, we don't want to run this step, the npm install step, because once something is not cached, so for example, let's say we have this over here, and we make some sort of change in our index.js, maybe we change this to me with an extra E, even though this change does absolutely nothing to our package.json, well, it is a change, so this step is not going to be cached, and then any following step are not going to be cached as well. So we're going to run this npm install even though we made no changes to our package.json. And npm installs are typically the most expensive steps and take the longest time. And so what we want to do here is just check, hey, do we have anything changed in the package.json? If that's the case, then don't cache this step, and then of course run the npm install. However, if we do have something changed, then just or we don't have something changed, just cache this, and then you don't have to cache this. I hope that makes sense. All right. So the last thing that we want to do is, well, we're running on localhost 5000. So let me just quickly get rid of that and save it. So we're running on localhost 5000. So in our Dockerfile, let's explicitly say that we're going to be exposing localhost 5000. And well, now what command are we going to be running as soon as the container runs? Well, as soon as the container runs, what we want to execute is node, and then we want to execute index.js. We could also do something like npm run start. However, it's actually best practice to use node for this. And the reason why is you don't want to have npm running in the background as well in order to start your application. All right, so that's the Dockerfile. That's pretty much it. That's really, really simple. So now let's actually go ahead and try to run the Dockerfile and just see if it works on our local machine. All right, so let's go ahead and build this image. In order to do this, just open up our terminal, and we are going to run docker build, and we're going to tag it with express app. Very, very simple. And then we're going to specify that we want to build this Dockerfile right over here in the same directory. So just notice that dot right over there. So this might be a little bit faster for me than for you guys because I already ran this and a lot of this stuff is already cached. So now what we can very simply do is just say docker images, and you can see that we have an image called express app. So wonky. Let's go like this. We have an image called express app. The tag latest. We also have this image ID. Let's go ahead and copy that in order to run our container. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do docker run, and then we have to specify the ports. So remember, this application inside of the container is going to be running on localhost 5000. So what we want to do is do something like this. We have to specify the port, and we're going to say localhost 880 on our local machine. We want to connect it to localhost 5000 in the container. Because remember, again, in the container, it's running on localhost 5000. This number can be anything. This number can be whatever it is that we want on our local machine. Actually, you know what? Let's change it to 6565. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to do docker run, and then we're going to specify the port, and then we're going to specify the image ID that we want to create the container from. So now if we were to execute this, we get listening, as you can see here, listening. And if we were to go to localhost 6565, let's go here, go to localhost 6565, and just wait a little bit, you can see that our application is up and running. So I'm on the root path, which is this one, and I'm getting this. And if I were to change this to me, so /me, I get hi, I am Laith. Awesome. So we got it running on our local machine. Now let's get it running on the web with AWS. Now that we got our Docker application running our local machine, we know that it works. So now what we want to do is, of course, to get this application into the cloud and deploy it in the web. And we're going to do that through AWS. So go ahead and log into your AWS account. And once you're in there, we're going to search for ECS, standing for Elastic Container Service. So this is what we're going to use to deploy our Docker application. So you should see something that looks like this. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get that image that we created into AWS. And we're going to do that through Amazon ECR. So this is the Elastic Container Registry, where we register all of our images. This is similar to something like Docker Hub, where we store our images there. So we're going to go over here to repositories, and we're going to create a new repository. So let's go over here, create a new repository. Let's make this a publicly accessible repository. After you're done with it, just go ahead and delete it. The reason why we're going to make it public is I don't want to set any IAM rules. So we're going to go here, say public. We're going to give our repository a name. Let's just call it Express App. And then I think that's pretty much it. We can give it a short description. I think that's fine. Everything here is okay. Let's go ahead and create our repository. All right, so that was very, very quick, but this is just the repository. Now what we need is to push our Docker image. So this Docker image over here, we need to build our image and push it into the Express App repository. So let's click on the Express App repository and click over here to view push commands. So over here, it shows you all of the steps that you need to run in order to, well, push your local Docker image into this repository. So let's go ahead over here. So the first thing that we need to do is authenticate ourselves. So let's copy this command and we're going to paste it in here. And we should see after a while that we are successfully logged in. Awesome. The next thing that we need to do, of course, is to build our image. So let's go ahead here and let's build our image. All right, let's just wait a little bit. There we go, nice and built. The next thing we need to do is to tag the image. So you can see here, tag your image so you can push it into this repository. So let's tag it. And then the last thing is, well, now we need to actually push the image to the repository. So we're going to do a Docker push. And there we go. Now, one thing that I'm going to note is you're going to need to have the AWS CLI installed to do this, especially this step right over here. So if you don't have the AWS CLI, then just go ahead and, well, install the AWS CLI. It's not a very difficult download, and I'll have a link in the description below. It's going to be a little bit different depending on your operating system. So you can see here now it's pushing our Docker image to this repository. So let's actually exit out of this. And if we were to refresh, let's do a quick refresh. We still have no images because it's still pushing. So let's just wait. It shouldn't take too long. All right, I just had a sip of some Diet Mountain Dew. All right, so now if we were to refresh, we should see our image in here, and we do. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to copy the image URI. So click on this button, because we're going to need that later. So this is only going to push our image to this repository. It's not doing anything else. It's very similar to pushing to Docker Hub. We're not running an application. In order to run our application, we need some sort of server and networking. And so what we can do is we can actually set that up with, well, let's go over here to Amazon Container Service, so not ECR. And we're going to do is set up a cluster. And this is going to set up an EC2 instance, which is going to be our server where we're going to run our application. And it's also going to set up some networking. So we're going to go here, we're going to create server. And so over here, we're going to say EC2 Linux plus some networking. So we can actually network through our server. We're going to say next. And then over here, we're just going to give it some, some things that it wants. So like the name of the cluster, we can say my Express app, on demand or spot. you can actually read over here. So on demand is you pay for the capacity per hour, and then spot is it's just kind of spot demand. Over here, let's look at the types. So the instance types. So let's use TC. Let's use T3. Let's go here. Let's use T2 micro. That's what we're gonna use. For instance, we're gonna use 1 over here. And then if we go down, this is where we're gonna configure our networking. So we're gonna use the default VPC, the subnet. Let's pick the first one. All right. And then over here, we're going to enable the auto assign public IP. And then for security group, we're gonna create our default security group. And then over here for container, I think that's fine. And that's pretty much it. So now what we can do is we can create this cluster. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna create our EC2 instance, and it's gonna connect it through the networks that we configured. So let's just give it some time. Let's just wait. It shouldn't take too long. And while we're at it, what we could do is very simply go to EC2, and let's click on EC2 here. And if we were to go to instances, we should see, this is an extra one that I had, but over here you can see that we have this EC2 instance right here that we are, we're creating. Awesome. So let's go back now. So over here, if we go back to ECS, you can see now we have this cluster. So we have this wonderful cluster. So the next thing that we need to do is to run a task. So we need to run a task. So let's go over here to the task definitions. And it says here that a task definition specifies the container information for your application. So it's going to specify exactly, how much CPU we need, how much memory we need, and specify the container information. So we're going to go here, we're going to create a task. We're going to say EC2. We're going to say next steps. And then, we want to give our task definition a name. Let's just call it my Express app as well. Maybe task. And then over here, we're going to give it no role. That's fine. Network, we'll leave it as the default. So in terms of memory, let's just give it 100. We're going to delete this all later. So let's give it 100 MIB. And then for CPU, let's give it 1 vCPU. And then we're going to add our container definition. So over here, we're going to say my Express app container. So let's say container. And then over here, we're going to have to paste in that image URI. So it knows exactly what image to utilize to build the container. All right, so over here, I think that's fine. So the last thing that we need to do is port mapping. So let's actually go over here and let's remember what we had before. So when we ran our application, we did something like Docker run, and we did port, was it 6565? And then over here, 5,000. So 5,000 was the application was the port internal to our Express application. So we're going to specify that here. So the container port, and then the port that we want to expose was 6565. So what we can do here is also add that in 6565. All right. Other than that, I think that's fine. We do not need anything else. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead and add that. And there we go. We should see that there. And then that's pretty much it. We can go ahead and create this task definition. And now what we can very simply do is go back to our cluster. And once we're in our cluster, we can go to our Express app. And then we can go to task and run that specific task. So we're going to run a new task. We're going to run this task right over here, my Express app task. And then that's pretty much it. That's really all we need. So let's go ahead and run this task. Let's go ahead and run it. Am I missing something? Oops, yeah, I'm missing this. So over here, we need to specify the launch type, EC2. We're gonna go ahead and run the task. And you can see here that now it's pending, and you can consistently refresh and wait until it is running. So let me zoom in here a little bit for you guys, as you can see. So we're waiting, and once it starts running, we should be able to access it. Awesome. So in order to access it, let's go to our EC2 instance again. And what we're gonna do is we're going to go over here. We're gonna click on this EC2 instance. Oh, why am I on the security group? Let's go to the instances. So over here we have this running instance. So let's click on this. And you can see here that what we can do is you can copy the public DNS. So let's go ahead and copy that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna paste that in there. And then we're gonna do :6565, because remember, that's the port that we're exposing. Now at this point, this is actually not going to work, and that's because in our security group, we need to expose that port. So let's go over to our instances right over here. And what we want to do is we want to find the security group for this particular instance. So let's go ahead and let's look at, we need to find the default instance. Let's actually go back here and let's click on that. Let's go here to security group. Let's find security group here. All right, where is security group? Security group. There we go, security group. There we go, found it. So let's just zoom out a little bit. All right. So it's using the default security group. So let's scroll all the way down and click on security group. And now what we want to do is we want to update the default security group. So what we want to do is we want to edit the inbound rules. So let's click here, edit inbound rules. And over here, I actually did this before. So let's go ahead and delete this. And so what we want to do now is we want to add a new rule. And we're going to say 6565, that's the port. So 6565. And we want to say from anywhere. So we're going to say over here. We're also going to add another one. We're going to say 6565. And we're going to do this one over here. So we can get it from anywhere. And now what we can do is we can save these rules. And if we were to go back to our application now and refresh, you can see that it is deployed. Awesome. And that's really it. So now we can actually start making HTTP requests to this server. And if I were to go to me, you can see that it works. All right, hopefully you guys learned a lot in this crash course. The last quick thing that I want to do is just show you how we can just delete everything. So let's go to our cluster. So ECS, or no, Elastic Container Service. We're gonna go to our cluster. So let's go to our cluster and we're gonna go click on My Express app and just simply delete this cluster. And this might take some time. However, it's fine. We can go ahead and delete that. And I guess while we're at it, we can open up a new AWS console. Let's just copy this so I don't have to log in. So let's go here to aws.home. And so yeah, while we're at it, we can also start deleting some of the other things. I think this is the only thing that's gonna actually charge us money. But let's go back to Elastic Container Service. And we're gonna go to the repository. Let's also delete this repository. So we can go ahead and delete that. All right, let's delete that. So we don't need it anymore, just for learning purposes. And then of course in the task definition, what we can do is we can click on this and then we can perform a certain action on it. Oops, sorry, not that. So what we can do is we can click on this task over here. And what we can do is just deregister this task, so we don't have it anymore. So now if you were to refresh, we shouldn't have that. And this is gonna take some time to remove, but it should be fine once it's done. So now we've deleted all the resources that we have been utilizing. So hopefully you guys learned quite a lot. I really enjoyed making this crash course, and I'll see you guys in the next one.